Good evening. Welcome to the Sustainability Commission of April 6th. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable on Channel 6, and AT&T's UVerse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition on the city's webpage, which is glendaleca.gov/live, and on YouTube, which youtube.com/myglendale, as well as on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire devices, using a free app called ScreenWeave and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Excuse me. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. You can call 818-548-4013 for program schedules. DVDs of the proceedings are available for purchase in the city clerk's office. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have any questions about matters on the agenda or requests for assistance, please contact the Management Services Department at 818-548-4844 during regular business hours. Do we go to roll call now?
Commissioner Bartrosov,
Here.
Commissioner Cartoonian,
Here.
Commissioner Werner, Vice Chair Bazemore,
Here.
Chair Pinkerton,
Here.
Ex Officio Borisov,
Here.
Ex Officio Kudo.
Here.
And now for 1A, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, please join us and stand. Thank you. So do we go to item agenda number 1, please? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. This is my first time as chair. You'll have to excuse me. So we would like to acknowledge that we are holding this meeting in the city of Glendale on the traditional lands of the Gabrielino/Tongva people. We would like to pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, and the Tongva communities who continue to be stewards of this land. We encourage our audience to learn more about the Tongva tribe and the many indigenous communities in California and beyond. You can find a list of books and resources at eglendalelac.org/Native American 2022. Thank you.
Okay. 1C, the agenda for the April 6, 2023 meeting of the Sustainability Commission was posted on March 31st, 2023 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Next item is 2, approval of the minutes. 2A, approval of the minutes of the commission regular meeting held March 2nd, 2023.
Does anyone have comments or revisions to the minutes? Okay, I guess roll call then.
We need a motion
Oh,
and a
yes,
second.
sorry.
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Okay, I guess roll call now.
Commissioner Bartrosov,
Yes.
Commissioner Cartoonian,
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Commissioner Werner,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bazemore,
Yes.
and Chair Pinkerton.
Yes.
Next item is 3, board member/staff comments. 3A, Sustainable Stewardship Awards.
2 of us are going to participate in this tonight because one of the nominations came when Commissioner Werner was the chair, so we'll start with her recipient.
Thank you, Chair Pinkerton. So the March awardee goes to Mr. David George Gavorkian. He is getting this award for his devotion to public service, commitment to healthier communities, and initiating sustainable city projects and pioneering environmental policies. He was the, or maybe still is, a deputy to the LA County Assessor as a former audit commissioner, and served as a board oversight commissioner. He's currently a city commissioner himself, but he's a great example of how you can make a difference in your community where you work or where you live. Many of his contributions were outside the city of Glendale, but it's a reminder that you don't have to live in Glendale to be a good steward of the environment, that applicants who have done work in other areas are eligible. So it's my honor to present this to Mr. Kevorkian.
If you'd like to add any comments, Mr. Kevorkian, please come to the podium. Thank you.
Madam Chair, commissioners, and city staff, it's truly an honor to receive this commendation from the city of my hometown, a city that I love dearly and a city that I've grown up in. It brings back a lot of really fond memories from my early years of my time in public service. I want to say thank you to a very special individual named Donna Saar, who actually nominated me for this. And Donna was, or is, the individual who gave me my first opportunity to work in local government at the city of West Hollywood when I was much younger. And the opportunity she gave me, the environment that she created, and the platform she gave me where I was able to thrive and use my creativity to serve our communities was just among the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life. And under her leadership, we worked on banning plastic bags, groundwater extraction. I remember one of the really fun projects we had was initiated having a DUI-related crash car be installed on the corner of San Vicente and Santa Monica during the holiday seasons to remind everybody to not drink and drive when the city of West Hollywood and patrons from around the regions would come and frequent to the bars and restaurants there. To people watching at home and to people around our community, I just want to say that the work we do in our local communities and in our cities, the effects of that and the consequences of that and the impact of that ripples far beyond the cities or the neighborhoods or even the small streets that we live in. We are all interconnected as people, and therefore all of our communities are interconnected. So what we do in Glendale or abroad or anywhere else matters, and it affects everywhere else that we live and everyone else that we interact with. So it's an honor to receive this commendation. I thank each and every one of you for your service, and I want to say thank you for this. And I wish you all best of luck in your continued service on the Sustainability Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. Do you want to, would it be best stand here? Yeah, or behind us?
They usually go down on the floor. Council.
The spotlight on us. Congratulations, David.
Yeah. How long have you known?
A while, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh. What do you know?
I can't hold my breath that long.
That long, right. Thank you again. We appreciate your service. We have 2 more recipients tonight, and I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. So our next recipient for an Environmental Stewardship Award is Mr. Jerry Burnham. Jerry has volunteered for the City of Glendale's Trails and Open Space program for nearly 20 years. He has planted hundreds of trees in the Verdugo Mountains and the Duke-Majan Wilderness Park. He regularly weeds around the trees. Please come to my house when you have freedom. And joins wilderness work days to water the trees. He also maintains the historic vineyard in the Duke-Majan Wilderness Park in service to the Stone Barn Vineyard Conservancy. And he helps maintain the Trails and Open Space Native Tree Nursery at Duke-Majan Wilderness Park's Trails and Open Space Office. So clearly we owe you a debt of gratitude for trees and helping maintain all our wonderful wilderness area. If you'd like to come up, if you have any, I'll bring this around if you have any comments you'd like to offer. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank the commission for honoring me with this. It's been a pleasure. It's one of those things where when you have a job that you really like doing, you'd almost pay them to do that rather than, but anyway, yeah, as she mentioned, we planted trees starting actually way back before the Castaway fire, which was in 2005, and after some burned up on the very top of the Verdugos. Unfortunately, some of those burned in the La Tuna fire, but we've got most of them, or probably more than were there before, growing, and with this rain, we expect them to be probably our height by the time we get up there for the first time this year. The vineyard is a fun place to do. I mean, you learn about making wine, and it's great to get a couple bottles of it a year for being members of the Conservancy, which you pay for. But I take care of the irrigation system, which is being attacked by bears at this point. They'll bite the plastic water tubes, I guess knowing there's water inside, and so on, or step on the irrigation pipes while looking for grapes up higher up that they sometimes steal. So anyway, then of course we've done trails. I remembered building some of the part of the trail up to Mount Lukens when it started snowing up there, and it started thundering. And we've had thunder snow here as long as I can remember. Whenever it rains down here, and if there's thunder, and it may very well be snowing up in the top of the mountains. But then you hear on the radio somebody in Connecticut or Massachusetts says, "We had thunder snow. This is something extremely rare. You're really lucky to have seen that." And I thought, well, gosh, it's an annual thing here in North Glendale. So anyway, once again, thank you for the honor, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Yeah, very nice meeting you. And last but not least, of course, is another award, Sustainability Award for Mr. Robert Thompson. Bobcat Thompson, I see, has volunteered with the City of Glendale Trails and Open Space Program for nearly 20 years, so I assume you and your neighbor there have known each other over the years. He has also planted hundreds of trees at the experimental forest in the Verdugo Mountains and in the Duke-Majan Wilderness Park, and he helps water these trees on work days. He's also a member of the City of Glendale's Trail Safety Patrol. You can see him cleaning up trash from Honolulu Avenue in the Montrose Shopping Park area to Rock Haven and beyond regularly. He is also a volunteer fire lookout at Vetter Mountain, and a great steward for the environment. So thank you very much. We're very happy to award this, and if you'd like to come up and make some comments, we appreciate it.
Since I'm a man of few words, I just want to say thank you to the commission and to Ms. Devon Shudick for nominating both Jerry and myself. I was born in Glendale and have lived here my entire life of 76 years, and I hope to have another 20 years of watering these trees. We have a tree in Deukmejian that I planted about 12 years ago. It's about 12 feet high now. It was 12 inches high when we planted it, so that's known as the bobcat tree, so that's important. Someday it'll be as big as the oak tree right next to it. Anyways, really enjoy doing things in the outdoors and for the city of Glendale and keeping Glendale green. And I hope to do it many more years. Thank you very much.
Just want to say that when I started Trails in Open Space, the two men who did it before me were retiring, so it was just me, but Jerry and Bobcat had been here for many years, and they taught me what to do.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
All right, and for commissioner comments, one of our ex officios had comments and asked to present something.
Of course.
Ex officio.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. So I just wanted to take note of what was happening in our regional and local community. So if Elizabeth could go to the next slide. So a few months back, I want to say, this LA Metro approved the NoHo to Pasadena BRT study. And I was Googling around and I saw that LA Metro will be advertising the project for bid soon, and they plan to award a contract in 2024 and have service starting in 2027. And I think it's important to note that it will go through the city of Glendale and have its bus-only lane. I believe this is as good as we're going to get to connecting the L Gold Line, soon to be A Line, and the Red Line with North Hollywood, and this will insurmountably increase connectivity and public transit use between the three cities. The next slide, please. So this one is the LA Metro Regional Connector Project. It's happening in downtown LA. And so essentially what this project is it's connecting the Gold Line and the A Blue Line and the E Expo Line. And so instead of having to cross with the Silver Line or the Purple Line, you can get a one-seat drive, I'd say. No, not drive, ride. Forgive me. Car centrism has sunk into me. And so this will decrease times waiting for platforms, waiting for trains on the platform. And they have already started pre-revenue testing, and they're expecting service to begin on the 21st through an independent review, but it might happen later because these things always get pushed back just a bit. But I'm excited that we're getting 3 brand new stations in downtown LA and that we're connecting more lines together. So next slide, please. So the North Brand Boulevard Demonstration Project. If you recall, the City Council, Glendale City Council voted on this about a year ago on improving it. We have capital funds already allocated for it. And I talked to the city manager a few weeks back, and he said that they're expecting the project to go for bid in the coming weeks, and we're right on schedule to begin construction. They're going to go with alternative 1A just to rehash everyone's memories. It's going to be a protected bike lane, parking, and then a single lane, travel lane, and then repeats on the other side. Next slide, please. And so while I was like procrastinating on some homework, per usual, I stumbled upon this video, which Elizabeth will play shortly, and it was something called an evaporative cooling unit, which is being used all across Madrid right now in Spain, and I just wanted to show you a quick video of that. So she will play it when she gets it up. Yeah.
Madrid is notoriously hot in the summer. That's a problem for Merca Madrid, the world's second biggest fish market. It has the mammoth task of keeping thousands of workers and fish cool under its massive roof.
El ambiente es fantástico. Somos gente que llevamos aquí casi toda una vida. Esto es como una droga. Yo vine aquí en el año 82 y aquí me quedé. O sea, el que viene aquí no se va.
The market sells 172,000 tons of fish annually.
Dice, de todas partes del mundo se trae pescado, llega a Madrid. Nos tomaban la temperatura de los productos y tenían que estar por debajo de 8 grados. Entonces la única forma de mantener esa temperatura era a base de hielo.
For example, we were told this guy came all the way from Scotland. Thanks to the cooling system, it's still alive. Temperature inside the market used to get as high as 40 degrees Celsius, or 104 Fahrenheit in the summer. With thousands of people and fish sloshing in and out, keeping everything cold is a top priority. In 2018, the market underwent a €3 million makeover to do just that.
El reto era conseguir un sistema que enfriara el aire del mercado, sabiendo que es un volumen de más de 200.000 metros cúbicos, 24.000 metros cuadrados con las puertas abiertas.
The entire roof was cleaned and repainted with a waterproof and highly reflective coating.
Simplemente con el cambio de la reflexión del sol en el techo del mercado, ya conseguimos bajar 6-7 grados la temperatura superficial de la chapa hacia dentro del mercado.
The project also added 68 evaporative cooling units to supply a constant stream of cold air into the market.
Lo que tiene es un filtro de celulosa que se empapa con el agua. El aire caliente y seco pasa a través de este filtro. Es un sistema que lo único que es un ventilador que mueve aire a través de filtros. Por lo tanto, el consumo energético es muy poco, muy pequeño.
Merca Madrid says the new system saves up to 70% energy and cuts 34 tons of carbon emissions a year. The temperature is now kept around 15 degrees Celsius, or about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, even on the hottest of summer days.
El consumo de hielo probablemente se haya reducido a la mitad.
Cuando hubo las puestas en marcha en verano, la gente se quejaba que tenía demasiado frío.
So cool roofs are helping this market. But in order to make a dent in the global demand for cooling, we need multiple solutions working at once.
So that was a quick video I found. And so essentially this market in Madrid found a way to not only get rid of its air conditioning units, which obviously saves on electricity consumption and CO2 emissions, and I think it's HFACs, which pollute the environment even more. They managed to cool the environment inside the building, in the warehouse even more. And so this is just something I wanted to bring up to the commission, maybe in later agenda items or in presentations, maybe we could have someone talk about this. So we have a lot of warehouses in Glendale, a lot of supermarkets. This could be a great alternative in a ever-changing, ever-warming world. Instead of air conditioning units, we could have evaporative cooling units. And they also used awnings facing the south side, so basically it covers the windows so the sun doesn't penetrate with its heat. And they also use insulated low-E glass window panes. And that is all. Thank you so much.
May I add on to this? I actually was really I'm interested in this topic, so I was doing some research, and I know Chicago has a policy where whenever they have to repave any pavements, they have to use solar reflective material. So maybe if we're bringing this back up again for a different meeting, we could also take a look at that policy to see maybe if we can implement something similar for Glendale.
Thank you so much. And I'm free to take questions. I did some research on my own.
Great idea. I lived in Arizona for a long time, and older properties there houses tend to have evaporative coolers, and for the most part, they're fine. It's only like during the monsoons, a couple weeks a year, where you can't use them. But I would think you could use them out. I actually have seen them on some very old houses around here, because it's typically well, humidity's low enough that they're effective, but they're not, they don't seem to have that market penetration here.
Question, are evaporative coolers like swamp coolers?
Yes, swamp cooler, exactly, same
Okay,
thing, yeah.
that's what, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, no, thank you for bringing that.
And I had just one more thing to add as a comment after this presentation. I was gonna ask if David knew if GUSD has any compost recycling waste bins on site, and if they don't, then potentially I'll ask another commissioner to potentially agendize it for the next meeting and have City Council request that City Council supports funding for something like that. I'm not sure if they have to.
So, Commissioner Borisov, thank you for that question. So GUSD is its own entity and will have its own contract with whoever it does for their food scraps. So that's something that the city would not supply.
Thank you so much for the information.
I would just throw in under SB 1383, they should have that in place now, so hopefully they do. Anyway. Any other comments on that?
So Chairperson Pinkerton, we do have some staff comments, if that's okay.
Of course.
So I'd like to go over future agendas based on the commissioners, what they said in the work plan, and then some other items that the commissioners have asked us to follow up on. So in the May meeting, we expect to have a bicycle plan update to the commission, and we're also going to invite the Chamber of Commerce to the commission to talk about any of their sustainability programs and initiatives. In the June meeting, we intend to bring back information on the landscape ordinance that the commission asked for, and especially WELO, in addition to that, the water efficient landscape ordinance and how that ties into SB 1383 regarding the procurement of mulch and compost. In July, we have an action item, which be the selection of the 2023-2024 ex officios. We'll be providing an environmental preferable purchasing update, and we will be inviting Parks to respond to a request about development fee for South Glendale. August, potentially an action item regarding the urban forest update that the City Council asked to come back to the Sustainability Commission, and we don't expect that prior to the August date. And then finally, the Sustainability Commission's work plan is going to go to City Council for their approval on the 18th of this month. It's going to be in the afternoon, so staff will be presenting it, but if commissioners do want to attend that meeting, it will be an afternoon meeting, I think at 3 o'clock start time. So that's all the comments I have.
Thank you so much, David. I had a quick question. I might be wrong, but I thought that City Council passed down their tree ordinance back to the Sustainability Commission, or am I wrong about that?
So yes, they've asked the Sustainability Commission to comment on the tree ordinance, but it has to go back to Public Works. Public Works has to respond to the items that City Council asked them to respond to. So it's going to take Public Works a lot of time to do that research and to respond to those questions. Once Public Works has finished that analysis, they'll come to the Sustainability Commission. They'll present the Sustainability Commission at that time, will give their recommendations, and then it will go back to City Council after that.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
David, do you know what they asked Public Works? What is it that they were?
I do not have a list of the items.
I'm glad you asked that question because that was something I wanted to talk about because I think their perception was that the tree plan was not going to come back here, that it was just going to council and we wouldn't have a chance to, talk about it because we had a presentation, a couple of months ago about, old growth, trees. So I have another question though for you, and City Attorney or our Sustainability Officer, if you wouldn't mind. This body has requested information for other departments. I know like environmentally preferable purchasing specs was something I requested. Do we need to go to council and express frustration with the fact that requested information doesn't always come back in what I would call a timely manner? I know asking those questions puts a burden on departments, but I think we have a variety of expertise on this body, and it would just be helpful to have for our own work to have a baseline understanding of what some city departments are doing. So I'm wondering, is it appropriate for someone from the commission to go to council and say, this just seems to be a bit of a problem. Requests go out, but we don't necessarily get responses. Thank you.
So, Chairperson Pinkerton, so the commissioners can write and approach City Council members on any issues that they wish to. The reason we developed the tracker was to try and overcome that, to make sure that as staff, we can keep on top of the requests that the Commission has made to staff, and that we can respond to those more effectively. Staff do have a heavy workload, and we do ask questions, and we may not get immediate responses, but we do push them, and do try to get those responses back to the Commission in a timely fashion. If that does not occur, I will take responsibility for that, for not giving that information back to the Commission in the most timely of fashions. Another reason we developed the work plan is because now we have the opportunity to forewarn staff and forewarn departments and say, these are the items that the Commission is going to be working on over this year. So hopefully that process will enable us to make sure that we can get communication information back from those departments to the Commission on a more timely fashion.
Right.
So we do recognize that there was a lack of information coming back to the Commission in a timely fashion. So through the tracker and the work plan, we hope that will not happen going forward. But yes, you may connect with the City Council.
Okay. And not throwing any blame in your direction at all. I know everybody's, has a heavy workload, but I wonder if when we request information, would it be appropriate to say if you can respond within 60 or 90 days? I mean, we can't enforce that, but.
I do not know the workloads of other departments and where requests from the Commission may come to them, where that fits into the priority. So I would not want to burden other departments with that type of time frame. And a good example is the coming back to the Commission on the state of the urban forest. We reached out to Public Works as soon as the City Council meeting was over and began discussions with them, like, when will you be able to come back? And that's why we're saying we're not going to come back before August, because they're going to require that time to complete their work.
Question, David, does our tracker have a date requested column? If not, we may want to add it. I mean, I think several months is acceptable, but depending on how involved the ask is, how tedious. But just want to be sure that we're tracking it ourselves as well.
We can have that included into the tracker, and we can maybe going forward, what we can do is as part of sending out the meeting packet to the commissioners, we can include the tracker as part of that meeting packet.
That would be great.
So that you have not relying on us right now to give you information. You have the opportunity to read it, digest it, and then ask us questions about it going forward.
Some of us do have information overload and things fall out of... Thanks.
If I may ask, David, is it possible that you could ask staff within the city if the City of Glendale has done any background research or a review of Glendale potentially having something similar to Measure JJJ, like LA, or Measure M? Like, I'm sure, or I believe that we might have done some studies on if that would be possible or economically feasible in the city, and I want to know if we did have that study, what the results were.
I do not know, but I'll try and find out.
Thank you so much.
Can I make just a quick comment? Thanks for the updates, David. My ears kind of perked up when you mentioned the bike plan coming to the commission in May. I know that the effort that the city is taking on to redo their 2012 bike plan is going to be exhaustive, and there's going to be a lot to digest. So I would ask, perhaps you can coordinate with the planning department to provide their presentation to the commission as early as possible so that we can digest and process and ask some follow-up questions. Because I can anticipate that I personally am going to have a lot of questions about this particular plan. And I just want to make sure that we're not stuck in a situation where I'm just posing a bunch of questions and they're going to have to come back to me at a later time, that we're able to have more of a dialogue as part of that meeting. So to the extent that it's legal and possible, that we as individual commissioners just get that in advance and we can privately ask questions so the staff is prepared.
Commissioner Butcher, so if we can accommodate that, I do not know at this point how much work has been done on that planning process. So whatever work has been done, we can, yes, definitely bring that information. Again, I'm not sure how deep they are into that process. So at this point, what questions you may ask, but we're just trying to get the commission updated as this process keeps going forward.
Great, thank you. And then the other thing I'll just mention is thanks to Elizabeth's very active contributions on social media and reminders to our commission, I went to one of the Makerspace workshops, the Patch It, particularly the patching workshop. And it was my first time in the Makerspace space at the library, and I really recommend that you guys take a look at their programming. Perhaps we'll be reminded on social media again. I think there's more workshops for the month of April, right? I know there was a bunch in March and again in April. I'm looking forward to another one for mending apparel as well. And then I also, just looking at the library's calendar, I also did like a DIY soap making workshop just for fun. There's a lot of stuff on there. The library provides all sorts of resources beyond just books. There's a lot of stuff on their calendar, so I recommend and encourage folks to check that out. And then I know there's we're in the works for a Fix-It clinic. Has that been scheduled, or we're working on it?
Yes, it's been scheduled for May 20th.
Right. Okay, so very much looking forward to that. I know one of the council members gave a short presentation about that at Tuesday's meeting. So lots of cool things to look forward to that are sustainability oriented that I wanted to bring to folks' attention.
Just on that note about sustainability events, so this weekend, although not directly in Glendale, but at Catalina Island, they had a very successful cleanup. It was the 41st annual Avalon Harbor underwater cleanup, and so they had like around 600 volunteer divers come. That was yes, it was a lot of fun. It's the only day in the year where you can go to the harbor and clean up, and it was very successful. They had a lot of, there wasn't too much trash, but they were still able to get a lot out. And so it was really fun, and they had like raffles afterwards, and you could really see that all the divers were very engaged. So when we go over number 6, agenda item number 6 today for the Earth Month update, maybe we can have like a similar cleanup event in Glendale in the mountains, and like the people who came for the Sustainability Stewardship Awards today from like the Duke Majan Wilderness Park, maybe that's something we can work with them to plan later on. So thank you.
That's great. Was it, what type of trash? Was it mostly plastics, I'm assuming?
It wasn't, there's a couple pieces of plastic, but there were also a lot of food items like pickles that the fish wouldn't eat. So there were like pickles and also like some fish line and like some nets. And then also like just like cups. I don't really understand, but it didn't seem to be like one specific piece of trash that was more abundant than another, so.
Since we're speaking about events, I brought something up to Elizabeth an hour before the commission, and the Students for Sustainability Club and Social Equity Club at GCC want to do a ceremonial tree planting on GCC campus on April 25th for Earth Day. We'll off Earth Day because we have school off that day, but they want to do it the next week. And we were just planning on doing that. I'm not sure. Elizabeth told me that she would help me find out if the city had just one tree available for that time, and I think my job would just be to go to the Board of Trustees at GCC and perhaps just request like a day or like a space where we could plant a tree. I'm not sure if they have to like find like some irrigation system there, like not allow us to like take off like a panel of the concrete, or asphalt or something. So it might not happen on that day because it's kind of tight, but that's something that we envisioned.
I have a question. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time. I went to the kickoff event for the new charging stations that were installed in one of the parking garages.
Marketplace.
Yes, Marketplace. I don't think the city, we haven't fleshed out fully our plastics restrictions and things like that, but I noticed a couple things that we probably shouldn't be doing. So bottled water, I just want to make a comment in plastic bottles. So I'm happy to do zero waste audit, just to volunteer, because that's the thing I do. But I just wanted to make a comment about that there was bottled water there. And right now, it's not really difficult to get water either in aluminum cans or resealable aluminum bottles, or even if you have many hydration stations or even just pitchers with, reusable glasses. But I did want to comment on that. And there were coffee cups there, of course, from the food supplier, which are non-compostable, non-recyclable because of the lining. So maybe for events like that, have some giveaway mugs or ask people to bring their own. That's what I do at the office. Whenever we have like internal meetings, the invitation reminds people to bring their own containers. But because bottled water, as you know, is a high-profile thing right now. So I just wanted to mention that. And I'm sure you probably had the bottled water in stock. You probably bought it in bulk at some point. But thank you.
Just a few items, David. First of all, I want to thank the city. A few months ago, I brought to your attention the fact that the city was missing a couple of things in terms of permit streamlining for EVs. That was being tracked by GoBiz. As of about a month ago, we met all the requirements, and we're now green, just like our neighboring cities. So I want to commend the city. When I brought something to their attention, to your attention, it was actually acted on. I don't know if it was coincidence or you had something with it, but I want to thank you. The other thing that I wanted to ask, and I don't know, maybe the city doesn't have a policy on this. Over the last few months, with the abundance of rain, we lost some trees, and some of them were historic trees in Glendale, oak trees. I know a few on Chevy Chase. Is there a policy to salvage some of the wood that we lose in Glendale? I mean, a 100-year-old tree in Glendale is a big deal, and when it falls, you have some time to salvage it. There are some mills that you can send the wood to, and they'll dry it out. And can you imagine? I was thinking, instead of these, furniture in the back that's made in a factory somewhere, made in Glendale, part of a tree, like a live edge tree. It's something that if we preserve, it's for the next generation. It's something that would be a conversation piece. It would differentiate us from the run-of-the-mill store-bought furniture. So I don't know if it's feasible. I don't know if maybe we do have a policy on it. Maybe the trees were rotten and they're not usable. There could be many factors, but I'd like us to look into it. Hopefully, maybe this year we're done with the rain and falling trees, but you never know. The other thing, I would like a presentation on what is the status of leaf blowers compared to neighboring cities. There's some that have already banned it, and in my case, that's one of the few things that I really, really dislike. The noise pollution and just pollution in general, just sweep the damn thing and put it in a trash can instead of blowing it all over the place. So, what is the status? What's the timeline for us to do anything about it? As part of a county-wide effort, so I don't know where we stand. Did you want to go ahead? Well, I have a couple more things. One, over the last few months, I've noticed that there's an uptick of graffiti on our trails. It started during COVID, but it hasn't stopped, unfortunately. A lot of our trails now have become, free for all for graffiti artists. So that's something that it's both a law enforcement and a Parks and Rec issue that I think we need a little bit more attention on. A lot of our signage on trails over the last few years, they're just inundated with the graffiti. And last but not least, there was a really interesting article today in LA Times, Boiling Point. It's California's race against time to build power lines. I'm sure, those at Glendale Water and Power are paying attention, but at some point, those of us that are clean energy advocates, that's going to be our Achilles heel. That's going to be our crunch. We don't have enough capacity to connect to the outside world. We're an islanded power producer here, and we can't just rely on in-house, whether it's gas-powered, whether it's renewable natural gas, whatever it is. Hopefully, they're looking at transmission lines because those take 10 plus years. That's all. I think I gave you enough, but I started with the good news.
Commissioner Cartini, thank you very much for those questions and those requests. I do not know about the salvage program of the trees. I know that our parks, when they do take trees down in the parks, they chip them and they reuse the chip, but the salvage thing is a really good idea, so I'll follow up with that. Regards transmission, I'll have to get a response from GWP on what their plans are regarding that. And with regards to graffiti on trails, I will pass that on to Community Service and Parks. As regard leaf blowers, we did go to the City Council and they have provided us direction on to ban the use of gas-powered leaf blowers. But as part of giving us that direction, they have asked us to do extensive outreach into the community. So we are right now engaging or have asked some consultants to provide us plans to do outreach and the cost to do outreach for that effort. Once we get those responses back, we will then go back to City Council with a draft ordinance regarding the banning of gas-powered leaf blowers and a request for City Council for funds for the outreach program. So we are making progress on that.
In terms of timeline, we're talking, because we haven't even hired a consultant to do the outreach yet.
Correct. So we need to, before we hire the consultant, we need to get appropriation of funds from council. So that's why we'll be going back to them with a report and with a request for appropriation of funds. So the way our workload is looking, we have to get through Earth Day, and then we have to prepare the report, prepare the draft ordinance. So we're probably looking going back to council, maybe July, August, with a recommendation on that.
Is there anything that we can do here to encourage them that direction? Is there anything?
Well, they have provided us the guidance to ban leaf blowers. We had a successful event where we got companies that provide electric leaf blowers, and we reached out to landscapers to get them to come to that event. We partnered with AGZA, the American Green Zone Alliance Association, who works with the city in our own elimination of gas-powered equipment. So we're definitely making progress and moving ahead on that. So hopefully soon you won't hear leaf blowers. So.
Oh, please go ahead.
Yes, I have a announcement. There's a Earth Day celebration at Adams Hill at the Adams Square Mini Park at Palmer and Adams Street, and it'll be on Sunday, April 23rd from noon to 2 o'clock. And there'll be children's activities. For example, we're collecting plain white paper plates that the children will draw the earth on. So if anyone has extra paintable plates, send them my way. And they'll be making handmade bird feeders out of like peanut butter and bird seed. So if anyone has extra bird seed lying around, we'll take it off your hands. So yeah, something for everyone. We'll have music and things like that. So just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. If I could, back on the leaf blowers, if I may, for a second. I worked on this 20 years ago for LA, and it was very hard to reach what I'm going to call, not the best term, but the mow and blow gardeners. There were some alliances that have been set up, but they dissolved. They didn't last very long, so it's a hard market to reach, a hard group of people to reach. But one of our commissioners is with the Glendale Homeowners Coordinating Council. I think the solution, I've heard of people firing their gardeners because they were using gas-powered blowers. In my mind, the solution is you, the homeowner or the property owner, can provide them with the appropriate equipment, because that's a very low-income group in general. They don't make a lot of money, and I'm just wondering if you want to maybe suggest to homeowners that, you know, it's not that expensive to buy the plug-in or the battery-powered equipment, which is what I did. So that might be a good way to help transition away from.
UMB will replace them free of charge.
Okay, all
There's
right. Well,
grants
there
that you take
okay.
the gas-powered, and they'll give you.
At a surrender exchange program.
So when we presented to council how we want to move forward on that, council provided us direction. And actually, it wouldn't be the gardeners; it would be the homeowners that would be the ones that would get fined, or that's where the citation would happen. So, because, as you say, that workforce had moved from town to town, city to city. So.
I wanted to just quickly chime in. Hi, and David, I emailed both of you an email exchange I had with Public Works staff about repurposing those downed trees. So there is a vendor that the city uses to maintain trees in the public right-of-way, and they do have an online portal where you can purchase furniture that is repurposed as part of those trees that go down. I don't know that they do it actively for all trees that fall, but the system is in place for something to maybe build off of that. But I gave you the right I sent you the right contact info if you want to poke a little further.
Can you share that in the minutes, if possible? I think it's very interesting. Thanks.
Commissioner Cartoonian bring up a great point about the rain. I was reading an article about Gavin Newsom's new bills that he signed, and it was allowing farmers to flood some of their fields. So essentially, we're somewhat out of the drought in terms of surface level drought. So our aquifers, our reservoirs are filled up, and our land is less dry, but our aquifers are still drained and overpumped. And so his goal was to rack in 500 million gallons into the aquifers yearly. And so I was going to ask if we had any appropriated funds other than Measure W to construct dry wells and bioswale retention facilities, centers in the city of Glendale, because in the city of LA, when I drive by, I see there's a lot of bioswale retention. What is
Yeah, we have bioswales in Glendale.
We do. Okay.
Excuse me, Chair, if I could bring the attention to the Assistant City Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. I just want to be sure that we keep this portion of our agenda appropriate under the Brown Act, and that is we don't morph into a discussion and a conversation about various topics. It really is, asking questions of staff and requesting information come back, making announcements, that's appropriate. But there are so many topics that perhaps some of them should be fashioned into a request for information to be brought back so that a more detailed conversation can be had and a record can be appropriately created. I thank you very much.
Would our ex officio like to fashion that way?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Van Meiden. Sorry. David, could you please later, whenever you guys are backlogged with everything I know, to let us know if the city of Glendale has any allocated funds other than Measure W for bioslate retention, because every single time, I'm in the city of LA, they have it in parking lots, in your neighborhoods, and they're very visible, and Glendale has some, and I know that Public Works is working on building some on Glenwood Drive, for instance, but I don't think we have nearly enough.
So I'll reach out to Public Works and get a response. I do know what their budgets are for the units because they have a condition assessment program, so they have to follow through. But we'll get that information.
Oh, I wonder, should we move on? Agenda item 5B, we haven't had that.
Agenda item
correct?
is 4, Oral communications. Oral communications discussion is limited to items within the jurisdiction of the Sustainability Commission. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Sustainability Commission members may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The matter may be referred to staff for investigation report. We have a caller on the line. Hello, Catherine Yurka.
Hi, thank you very much.
You have 5 minutes. You have 5 minutes for oral communications.
Thank you. My name is Catherine Yurka, and I'm actually calling about Council's consideration of the changes to Glendale's Indigenous and City Street Trees ordinances, which you guys were talking about. As you may remember, in October, I did a presentation before the Commission to illustrate how poorly enforced Glendale's tree ordinances are and in what bad shape many of our protected trees are. Many are damaged during construction projects, even when applicants are required to protect trees as a condition of project approval. And as I found through my California Public Records Act request, is that many property owners are essentially paying nothing in fines. I had also provided the Commission with some suggestions for improvement on behalf of the Verdugo Woodlands West Tree Committee, and the Commission graciously requested that the item be agendized. Instead, as you know, updates to the tree ordinance went directly to Council, and while well-intended, the changes did little to ensure that our trees would be protected and policies enforced. The staff report noted the enormous public benefit of trees, but the proposed policy changes didn't really reflect that. For example, they did not insist on the replacement value of removed or destroyed protected trees, but suggested a max fee that was actually much less than what the trees are worth. There were about 8 speakers at Tuesday's council meeting who argued for stronger protections, and we did persuade councils that the changes were not ready to be adopted, and so they've remanded it to you. Our new mayor, Dan Brotman, talked about how important trees are for sustainability and how cheap they are compared to other investments we might make. He described improving the ordinance and increasing protections for trees as a high priority for him. Given that Glendale's now spending millions of dollars planting new trees, it could not be more important to take the steps we can to protect the urban forest we have. Saplings are not a substitute for mature trees. So in addition to enforcing our policies, we asked specifically that the city charge replacement fees for our protected indigenous and city trees based on their size, that the city train building inspectors to address violations involving trees on construction sites, that the city require an in-lieu fee for private property owners who remove very large but otherwise unprotected mature trees. And we ask that the city acknowledge that even 2 wonderful staff members cannot monitor the entire city's urban forest. Enormous resources are expended removing dead or unhealthy trees, which could be much better spent ensuring that our trees stay healthy. I really hope that this returns to you expeditiously, which is to say I hope it comes back before August. A majority of council just want this to move forward. There's only one member who wanted a whole bunch of additional information that's really unrelated to the ordinance, and I suspect that's the source of the delay. So please tell council that you want this to come back sooner rather than later, because basically the city revealed that it's just not enforcing what we have. Thank you for your consideration and hard work. Bye-bye.
There are no other people for oral communications.
May I ask a question to the city attorney? Sure. Is that appropriate? Thank you. I believe I asked a few months back when this came to the commission, but I'm not sure. Are the fines that are enforced for tree violations, I don't know what it's called, but violations for when you don't properly care for a tree, are those funds used to subsidize future tree planting? Is that a program we have?
Ex officio, Borisov, I don't have an answer for that question. I don't know how they're allocated once they're collected. but we can find out where that money
I-
goes. Usually it's related to the cost of the service, the enforcement, et cetera, in order to perpetuate the program, but I can verify, how those fines are allocated.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We spoke with staff about this, and it usually goes back to cover the cost of the code enforcement rather than necessarily going back towards a specific like tree.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Next item. Okay, next item is 5, reports and information. 5A, ex officio commissioners doing project updates.
Yes, so I think for the last couple of months, we've been trying to organize a field trip to a water reclamation plant, but there are a lot of difficulties with the original plant that we chose or the bus program. So we ended up finally having our field trip to the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant. And so I just wanted to provide a brief presentation about how it went. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So we went to the Donald C. Tillman Water Reclamation Plant. It's located right next to Japanese Gardens, which they irrigate using the water that they process at the plant itself. And it's a tertiary treatment plant, and then it's located in Van Nuys. And so basically, throughout the tour, we got to learn about the entire process. So in the next slide, please. So this was our itinerary. We basically, we left the school around 8:15 a.m. and then arrived at 9 a.m. And then the tour was an hour long. And right after, they also let us tour the Japanese Gardens. And that's just a picture of some of the students. And then so the tour guide provided us hard hats for everyone. And I was very excited to see how engaged the students were throughout the entire trip. Our tour guide, his name was Richard, and so we started from like the main building and then moved on to each step of the process. So, and the next slide, please. Thank you. We first went through the primary treatment process, and he explained how they use like sedimentation tanks and basically how they rely on gravity first to let all the heavy particles sink, and then everything that floats to the top, they just skim off the top. And then what we learned in this process is that the plant doesn't process solids or sludge or scum. So what they do is they actually transfer it back to the main sewer line, and that goes all the way down to Hyperion, that's where they do like that's where they process more of it that they're not able to do at the Donald C. Tillman reclamation plant. And if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Here are just more pictures. It was really great weather, and so we were kind of worried that it would get canceled because they said if it was raining, the tour would be off in the couple of days before it was raining. So thankfully, the weather conditions were perfect. So in the next slide, please. Thank you. And then we went through secondary treatment where we learned about how they use aeration tanks to promote microbial growth that consumes the organic waste in the wastewater. And so if you could go to the next slide, please. We also went through the tertiary, or like the last stage of the process. And so in those little tanks, you could smell how it gets like better at this stage. You could smell the chlorine, but it wasn't too bad towards the beginning. But yes, this is the tertiary treatment part. And then, in the next slide, please. Afterwards, we were able to go to the Japanese Gardens, and we learned that they use the water that they process at the plant to irrigate everything here. So that was really amazing to see how beautifully everything is growing. And to the next slide, please. Thank you. So it was, I thought it was a success. We had the AP environmental students come to this field trip, and we also had some GIS students and other students from the CMHS Earth Core Club come. And so throughout the entire tour, Richard was giving us questions like, does anyone know what this process is about? And so I was really impressed to see all the APE students reply immediately, like they had retained all the information they learned and they're able to see it in person. So it was really exciting to see how they're able to see everything in person and get that hands-on experience. And then they also asked a lot of questions that I was really surprised. Like they had like about 10 questions per step of the process, which was really interesting. So we got to learn more in depth about each stage of the process. And I thought it was a great experience, and I'd definitely like to have more of these in the future, especially for APE students who can use that knowledge for the AP exams coming in May. So thank you.
That's great that you pulled that together. I'm glad you went and saw it.
So I have a question. What was your main takeaway from that?
My main takeaway, I definitely got to get a deeper understanding of each stage of the process. I thought it was really interesting. The one that interested me the most was the secondary treatment, where they use the aeration tanks to promote microbial growth. And then I think he called them mugs, where they just grow these mugs that eat like the biological waste. So that was really interesting to see. And I was really happy with the field trip because it was really inspiring, I guess, to see everybody really engaged about the water reclamation process. So
Next time you will have to try to go to Hyperion, because what's really interesting is sewage treatment plant, the screens, when you see all the wipes, the wet wipes that clog the equipment, and they have to shut down the equipment all the time to pull that stuff out. They're not even though they're labeled biodegradable, they are not. They wreck the system. So it's terrifying, actually.
Yeah, that's one reason I was asking, because I did a virtual tour of the East Bay Mud wastewater treatment plant in San Francisco because I was working on a renovation project for that, and that was the main thing they were trying to drill into everyone, that there's no such thing as a flushable wipe, and it just really wreaks havoc, and they have to be manually removed and all that kind of thing. So that's a good public service announcement there on wipes.
Thank you so much, ex officio Commissioner Kudo. I have a question. Is this water then reused to water our grass or plants, or is it used on showers, toilet water, sink water? So where does this water go to?
they called it, there was a specific term for it. It was, I can't remember it off the top of my head right now, but it's not water that can be used again, it's not completely clean, you can't drink it anymore, but yeah.
It's non-potable,
Yes.
reclaimed water.
Yes.
Yeah, other countries do use it, direct application of it, but we don't for some reason here. It is technically drinkable, it really is, but yeah, you can't take the treated water and put it directly into the water system like we have the purple pipe system.
I see. Thank you so much. And so, sorry. So this would then be used as reclamation water, so it can be used to water plants and okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there aren't any public comments for this item, so we can go to the next one. 5B, battery recycling, Glendale Community College.
So, Chairperson Pinkerton, ex officio Borisov, this is a request you made about setting up battery recycling at Glendale Community College. So, California has its own waste designation, which is universal waste. So, batteries are, along with these other items listed, are designated as universal waste, and the universal waste says how those wastes have to be treated. So in order for GCC to set up battery recycling, they would have to manage this battery waste under the California universal waste rules. There is not an option for us to put a recycling bin anywhere in GCC and then just take those batteries to our household hazardous waste program, because once the waste gets deposited at Glendale Community College, it becomes part of the waste generated by the the campus as a whole, so it becomes part of the campus's waste stream. So regarding generating, hazardous waste generators can be classified as large or small hazardous waste generators. If you're a large hazardous waste generator, generally you would contract with a hazardous waste materials hauler who would take all your hazardous waste and then treat it appropriately, whatever the treatment requirements are of that waste. If you're designated as a small quantity hazardous waste generator, there is options to participate in the county's small generator program or the City of Glendale's household hazardous waste program. But your facilities department would have to approach those programs about whether they can take this waste to them. So for large hazardous waste generators, so this is regarding RCRA waste. There's a certain amount of waste that you have to generate a year to be considered a large waste generator. I do not know what GCC generates. Again, you'd have to reach out to your facilities department, and they would have an EPA ID number potentially if they do generate over 100 grams of RCRA hazardous waste or more than 1 kilogram of acutely hazardous waste per month. If they're not a large generator, they can be considered small hazardous waste generator. They would still have to get a permanent ID number from the state, and you'd have to get that ID number from the state if you do less than 100 kilograms or 220 pounds of RCRA hazardous waste, less than 1 kilogram of RCRA acutely hazardous waste, or any amount of non-RCRA hazardous waste. So in California, that would include batteries. So you need to get a state ID number because then you have to report to the state how you manage this waste, where you send this waste to. So the City of Glendale does have a small business program which is authorized to take a certain amount of hazardous waste. Again, I'd encourage you to ask your facilities to reach out to our hazardous waste program to see if they qualify under this program. Or LA District has a program too for conditionally small exempt generators. And again, your facilities would have to reach out to that program to see if they qualify part of it. But in terms of the City of Glendale itself establishing a battery recycling program at Glendale Community College, that is not something that we could do. That's something that you have to do through your facilities department, and they'd have to follow the California regulations, however they pertain to Glendale Community College.
Thank you so much, David. I mean, that was a wonderful presentation. If I may ask, could you email me the slides? I might have to go to the Board of Trustees meeting and next week and just ask them directly to support this.
Of course.
Just wanted to add, because this is something I've run across at the City of LA, which tends, being so large, have siloed operations. Some departments have their own hazardous waste materials handling contracts, others do not, and they're always trying to piggyback onto the existing contracts of other departments, which runs down their total budget for the contract more quickly than anticipated. I would also talk to your purchasing people, because when you do buy the universal waste, if you can, you should always have a take-back option built into the contracts. Like Granger is a supply company the city uses for fluorescent light bulbs and other things, and they do have a take-back program. So I would just say they should always really marry, if you're buying these things, they should marry a take-back option in that contract. That's the cleanest way, I think, to do it. Or they may have a universal or hazardous waste contract already in place, but I find people don't know about those things. They're just not promoted internally.
Thank you, Chairperson Pinkerton.
Yeah, for remodels and things on campus, like there are, like Armstrong has a take-back program for ceiling tiles, even if it's not an Armstrong tile. Then there's many carpet manufacturers have a take-back program for carpet, which is something, it's kind of a high-wear item that's always being replaced. So it doesn't hurt to look at some of those and try to promote them, because if no one writes that into the specifications, it's not going to happen. They just toss in the landfill.
Thank you, Commissioner Warner. Chairperson Pinkerton, if I may ask, do you know if LACCD, Los Angeles Community College District, has any of those sites? Okay, so then I believe it would be very difficult for GCC to do it standalone if there's like no predecessor, but maybe we'll lead the way, who knows?
Well, ask, because it may be like Glendale piggybacks on the county contract for purchases of some items, so maybe ask if they do collaborative. There are collaborative contracts out there for nonprofit institutions, so That would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Chairperson Pinkerton.
There aren't any public comments for this item. So we can go to the next item, which is 6, Sustainability Office Updates, 6A, Earth Month Update.
I forgot we had to do this section. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Yeah, so as Commissioner Bartrosu mentioned, there are a lot of events this month for Earth Month. So these are the sewing workshops. I'll send a packet with all these promo materials to you all. These are workshops in the makerspace that are happening throughout April and into May. And you can sign up at eglendalelac.org/makerspace. The events are released the last Wednesday of the month before, so all the April events are available for booking now, and May will be released the last Wednesday of April. We will have 2 community lectures and workshops called Glendale Carbon Conversations. We have one on April 20th about a guide to climate revolution, which will feature 2 of our ex-officios on the panel, and it will be a speech, start with a lecture by author Mary DeMacher, and then we'll have a panel discussion, and this is all about kind of like what actions can we take to address the climate crisis now, what are ways we can talk to our youth about the climate crisis, and what are ways that we can support youth in acting upon the climate crisis and everyone to take action. The second one is on April 27th, Shape the Energy Future of Glendale. I'll start off with a lecture by Ted Flanagan on from EcoMotion, and it will cover kind of like different innovative, interesting ideas of building resilience in our grid and our energy infrastructure. And then we'll have a panel discussion with various different like experts in the area from other governments and some local leaders. All these events are open for booking and free to sign up, and you can sign up at glendaleca.gov/carbon conversations. On April 29th, we have a guided nature hike that Devron Shudik, who was earlier, will be leading along with the Historical Society of the Crescenta Valley. And this will be a hike through Duke Magian to learn about the various plants and animals in the park and the family that live there. Signups are open for that, and that'll be a fun morning activity on the 29th. And you can sign up at glendaleca.gov/guided nature hike. And then the piece de resistance is the Earth Day Fair on April 22nd, which is what I guess we've been building up for. And this will be a big day of activities with the library. We've been able to expand it. You can find the schedule at glendaleca.gov/Earth Day Fair. But it's just an overview of the schedule. We'll have a land acknowledgement welcome. We Tell Stories, which is a children's storytelling performance. We'll have a discussion, talk on solar power. There will be an animal info session where people will be able to see animals and learn about them and then interact with them afterwards. You'll have 2 composting demonstrations, one in Spanish and English. And then at the Pacific Library, because this event's at Pacific Park, there will be story times in English, Spanish, and Armenian. And we're looking for volunteers. So this is a great way for the commission to get out there and volunteer and be part and interact with the community. And we would like volunteers for this event. So commissioners, I encourage you to come out, volunteer. There's multiple shifts. You don't have to be there all day, but it's a good way for you to, run the stand, meet people, interact with the community. We have various volunteer opportunities such as setup, running games. We have a welcome table, and then you can also direct guests or vendors and talk. So if you are interested and would like to come out and volunteer and be the face of the commission at Earth Day Fair, please let me know, or you can sign up at glendaleca.gov/EDF volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed working the event in the past, and I'd like to do that again. Can you? I was wondering if it was possible on the page for the carbon conversations, could they mention the people's names that are speaking, and then like maybe their, what their background
that
is.
Is up on the website. When you book the events, you'll be able to find a background
on
of the speaker and the panelists with a little bio and who our host will be. So for instance, April 22nd, we'll be hosted by Nora with Julia Linney, Yuzuna Kudo, Mike, and then our speaker. And then the April 27th one, you will see a little bio of Ted Flanagan, and then the panel, which Nicholas Ryu, which is from the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, Monica Campagna, and Michael Reed from GCC, and then myself. So that all this information is on when you register for all the events, and you can also visit earthglendale.org/Earth-Day to find out all these events, for all these information, for all the events, the Earth Day Fair, the Guided Nature Hike, and all the various workshops, along with resources
Very impressive.
at the bottom.
Thank you so much,
That's it?
Elizabeth.
The Fix It Clinic will be coming in May.
I just had a really quick question. Our mascot, the turtle, what's their name?
Sammy?
Sammy. He's really popular, or they're really popular on TikTok and Instagram. Keep on doing what y'all doing.
Thank you.
I wanted to add something. I really like the storytelling aspect of like all the events, and I actually wanted to ask, like, maybe in the future if we do like organize a storytelling, or not storytelling, a cleanup event. What they did at the Catalina cleanup event was they would save like a very interesting piece of trash someone found, and they would go up on the stage and tell a story, and they would just make up a story about how this trash came about, and they would choose like the funniest person story, and then that one would like win some sort of prize. So I thought that was a really fun way to engage both like young people, but also like, you know, anyone who was there, because anyone could have like participated. So I think that like intersection of like storytelling and also like cleanup events, I think that would be a really fun way to engage the public for future events.
Well, I wanted to say one thing about this. Thank you so much to the Sustainability Office staff for putting this together. Looks amazing. I know a big portion of these events, if not all of them, are sponsored partially through a grant, is my understanding.
Yes.
And I just wanted to ask, is there some thought being given already to next year to sort of see if we can sustain this going forward? Because it does seem really impressive, and I imagine there'll be a wonderful turnout. So for instance, is the grant we received, is that available on a yearly basis, and do we have the opportunity to apply already for next year?
About next year, I'm not sure, but it was for 1 year, and we have to use it by a certain period. But for next year, we'd hope to continue. If some of these initiatives go well, like the Glendale Carbon Conversations, that could perhaps be continued as like public community lectures. And what's not on here, like the Fix It Clinic, if that goes well, the idea would perhaps to continue that in other ways. And then I guess the plan is to still do the Earth Day Fair next year. And the sewing repair workshops, I think the Makerspace has been doing them beforehand. The grant just allowed for more workshops. So I do think the library does intend to have some cadence and continue some cadence of repair workshops.
Thank you. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
You bring up a great point about youth engagement. Ex-officio Commissioner Kudo did, and something came up in my mind. If you want more people to attend these events, I recommend that you contact GCC professors and ask that politely if they could provide extra credit for students that come to these events. So Rachel Ridgway or Poli Sci or whatever, yeah, give them a few points here and there, like a picture, thumbs up at the event, and they'll learn something. Yeah.
Okay, if there is no public comments. The next item is 6B Climate Action Adaptation Plan Update.
I have to follow that. So regarding the climate, I want to let the Commission know that the consultants will be coming back to Commission for the first time in October of this year. And they'll be coming to present the technical analysis at that point. So between now and October, it's all going to be data gathering by the consultants. So they're going to be doing the data gathering on the climate assessment, the greenhouse gas inventory, our vulnerability assessment too. So all that data that will be coming back to the Commission in October and presenting that data to the Commission in October. And the reason we want them to present that in October is because in February of 2024, that's when we'll be coming back to the Commission to start the discussion on adaptation and mitigation strategies after a community outreach on the subject. So we wanted to make sure that the Commission had the technical analysis first, so you can be informed in your discussions about the adaptation and mitigation strategies. So I just wanted to give that heads up because I know the Commission was asking when the consultants would be coming back to you. So.
Thank you, David. I had a quick question. Why is the time frame? I know a lot of things in government usually take a lot, especially with consultants and third parties, but why is it taking this long for us to go back to council? In the grand scheme of things, it's actually not very long. A year-long process is actually pretty fast. But I mean, we're in a climate emergency, and we want to make sure that council is getting this information as quickly as possible so they can pass policy points.
So Commissioner Borisov, thank you for that question. So the Climate Action Adaptation Project is an 18-month project. So the schedule's being developed around that 18-month project. So the project began in earnest on January 6th of this year. So we have to follow the schedule because there's a lot of the data analysis and data gathering is very heavy. The climate vulnerability assessment and the outreach surrounding that is going to take a lot of time for the commissioners to do. So there's never expected that the information gathering portion of this process would end before October. Well, it will end in September, and then we'll bring all the information together for the October. So we are on schedule as to what the project schedule set out to be.
Thank you so much. I hope we collect the best data possible for council to utilize.
What are some of the steps, if I may, for this next portion, for this technical piece? What is it, for instance, that the consultant is doing?
So the first step was the city had to provide data in terms of energy use, water use, energy intensity, where our waste goes and everything. So the consultants sent us a data memo request. So we've been returning the information for them to that. The consultants also have to get community from the data, like vehicle miles traveled, so they have to reach out and do research in SCAG and other areas like that. So the greenhouse gas data collection process is ongoing right now. So in parallel to that, we're going to be undertaking the climate vulnerability assessment, and that consists of social vulnerability, climate threats, and a couple of other things which I can't remember off the top of my head, but we have a memo from the consultants on the things they're going to touch on, which I'm willing to share with the Commission. And they're going to start doing the outreach into the community, identifying those community partners that we need to identify, because when we were writing the RFP, we were very concerned that we wanted to reach all the whole equity aspect of this and to reach all of the Glendale community. So that's going to be the part of this outreach process is how do we do that? Setting up the outreach program, mini grants, and all these different outreach activities they're going to do. We've received the outreach plan from them, and we're reviewing the outreach plan right now. And in our next bi-monthly meeting, we'll be responding to them on certain comments regarding the outreach plan. I'm more than willing to share the project schedule with you and the report from the consultants about all the different tasks and when they are due. So yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. That would be wonderful to see.
Okay.
There aren't any public comments. So the next item is 7, adjournment. I just need a first and a second.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Thank you. The commission meeting has ended at 7 o'clock.
I just want to thank